Okay, today let's continue with the parsha of the week. The parsha of the week, the Torah portion of the week. And here it goes. Let's go. And we just finished talking about the traveling of the Jews in the desert. The Jews, they traveled in the desert. And now we're going on to a very interesting chapter that talks about Yitro. Yitro was Moses' father-in-law, and he went and joined the Jewish people. Remember, there was Parshat Yitro way back then. Well, after the Jewish people traveled, these are the travelings of the Jewish people. And it says, Vayomer Moshe l'chovav. Moshe spoke to Chovav ben Reuel. Now, who is Chovav ben Reuel Hamidyani? Choten Moshe, oh, there he is. He's the father-in-law of Moses. So how did he get this name of Chovav ben Reuel? Where did he get this from? Well, it says, let's look at Rashi. Rashi says, Chovav, who is Chovav? That's Yitro. Yitro, Shenam, that was the Torah portion in the book of Exodus where we received the Torah. Yitro. It says, Yitro, Shenamar, Mibnei Chovav, Choten Moshe. Ma Talmud Lomer, why does the Torah tell us? V'tava'enu Reuel Avihem. His name was Reuel. Really? Reuel? Here's Reuel. So it says, Malamed, this time to tell you the Tinok, that the children, they call their grandfather, they call him father. There were a lot of names for Yitro. Yitro, there was, I don't know if there was anybody exactly like Yitro in the history of the world. Yitro was like the Pope of idolatry in those days. Everybody knew who Yitro was. And he had big doubts if all of this idolatry was right or not. And they according to some opinions, that the people, they ostracized him, they kicked him out. That's where he met Moses. In any case, he's called Yitro because there was a Yitro added a parsha of the Torah, Chovav because he loved the Torah, etc. So he said, we're going to be traveling. Nosim anachtu. What did Moses say to Moshe? Nosim anachtu, we're traveling to the place that God said he was going to give to you. God said, I'm going to give this. God said, I'm going to give this to you. Now, to all the Jewish people. Come with us. We're going to benefit you. Because Hashem spoke good about the Jewish people. What's going on here? It says, it says, we're going to the place. When are they going to go to the place? Another 40 years. What type of a thing is this? You come with us for 40 years. We're going to the place. It says, no, Moses didn't think they were going to be 40 years. Miyad, immediately, at least 3 days, minimum 3 days. We're going to come to the land of Israel in 3 days. Shebamasa Rishon, that in the first journey from Mount Sinai, Nasu al Manad l'kanes l'Eretz Yisrael, they were supposed to go immediately to the land of Israel. But they sinned. We'll see what the sin is in a second. And the mitonanim, and the people that were complaining. I hope we'll get to that today. Why is it that Moshe said that God said he's going to give it to all of us? Why? Because it says, Nosim anachdu, we are all going in to the land of Israel. Why did he say? It should have been, you are all going in. Moses didn't go in. It says there was not yet the decreed on Moses because he struck the rock. Allah. And he thought, Moses really thought that he was going to go into the land of Israel. He thought he would go in. Here's an interesting Kil Yakar in the end. We haven't got that much time, so let's see. It says, B'derech pshuto. Why is it that we say, let's see what answered, and then we'll do this. So Yitro said, I'm not going to go. I'm going to go back to my own land. But I'm not going to go back because all the benefits That's what Rashi says. Im bishvil nichsi, im bishvil mishpachti. Both because of my properties, the things that I own, and also there's my family back there. It says another place that he went back. We'll see that he went back to convince all the people over there to also become Jewish, at least to worship one God. So he said, "Vayomar al na tazavad, please don't leave us," said Moses. "Don't leave us. Ki al ken yadata chanotena b'midbar vayinu nan le'nayim. You're going to be for us to like eyes, as you were a guide to us. Vaya kilechi nana. If you do go with us, hatova hu asher yitav Hashem imanu itav l'lach. Whatever God gives us, He'll give you." And he says, "That's it." Right? And Yitro went with them. So the Kil Yakar asked the question, what is it that Moses said that convinced him? But Omer, when he said Itavnulach, when he said first time, come with us and you're going to get all sorts of benefits here. Itavnulach, we'll give you all sorts of benefits. So he said with this, Lo Yizkir Hashem, he didn't mention God's name. Lo Ratzah Lekabel. Yitro didn't want to go. Ki Omer Elech al Artzeh, go back to my land. If what you want to give me is riches, I have riches back there. What do I have to go into a new land, into a new place? Afterwards, when he said the Tova Ruchnis, when he said whatever God gives us, He'll give to you. Michlala Sanhedrin Shenikro Eine Aeda says that you'll be part of the judges. You'll judge the people. You'll be one of our judges. Whatever God gives us, we'll give to you. He mentioned God's name. Then he said, oh, okay, if we're talking about God, then I'll go with you. And that's what it says. B'nai Yisro, it says that the children of Yitro, they said that a ger, a convert, he can't be a judge. But the children, his children certainly can. And they sat in the Lishkat HaGazit, they sat in the high court, in the court of 71 people, in the courtyard of the temple. Okay, that ends that saga of Yitro coming with. So he says, what actually was the good that he got? He said, when the Jewish people were dividing up the land, it took them 14 years. When they came to the land of Israel, so it took 14 years. 7 years they fought the battles, and then 7 years they divided land. Haya dushna shel yirecho, taf kaf kamo, taf kama. Says that the plenty of the Jericho, the city of Jericho, says it was 500 amos on 500 amos. They didn't add, so they didn't give it out to anybody. They said, who's going to build up the Beit HaMikdash, and whoever builds the Beit HaMikdash and his portion will take it. Now the Beit HaMikdash was only built 440 years after the Jews went into Israel. So 440 years, the city of Jericho was not given to any particular tribe. Ben Kach, meanwhile, they gave it to the children of Yitro. Yonadav ben Rachav, it says, and they, in this place of Jericho. Jericho is the entrance place to Israel, the manual, the security. Okay, the Jewish people went from the mountain of God 3 days, and the Brit of Hashem, the ark, traveled before them 3 days in order to, scout out for them a place to settle. What's this idea of 3 places? So we have it again. Really, they were supposed to go 3 days. They went 3 days, but the journey took them just 1 day because God really wanted to bring them into the land of Israel immediately. And the ark went before them this 3-day journey. This is the ark that went with them to war. So in this ark were the broken tablets. The broken tablets. The Rebbe has a beautiful sikha about what the broken tablets were and why they went. And it went 3 days before them. God wanted really to take them into the land of Israel immediately, but we see that it didn't work out that way. The cloud of God was on them in the daytime when they camped. And when the Aaron, now here we have this 2-sentence Torah book. Remember, that's what we learned about in the Sikha? That there are some opinions that these 2 sentences are one book of the Torah. In other words, this makes up the 4th book of the Torah. Sorry. This makes up the 5th book of, is that right? That's right. This makes up the fifth book of the Torah. So it would be that the fourth book of the Torah is the beginning of the book of Numbers. This is the fifth book of the Torah. What comes after this is the sixth book of the Torah, and the book of Deuteronomy is the seventh book of the Torah. According to what they say, there's 7 books of the Torah. What do these sentences say? Let's see. A whole book of the Torah. Vayi, and it was. And saw our own when the ark traveled. Moses said, raise up God and disperse your enemies, and those who hate you will flee before you. And the second one says, and when the ark rested, so they said, return God the tens of thousands of the Jewish people. Ravavot alfei Yisrael. Ravavot means 20,000. So let's see. Excuse me. Do a little bit of this here. We have a nice Rashi over here. What's this Rashi? When the ark traveled, there were signs before them and after them that before this, see, should be, where is this? If you don't see over here, and if you look in a written Torah, you'll see there's a nun written here, upside down, a nun written over here, and there's a nun written over here also in regular Torah, an upside nun. So it says, why? To tell you that this is not the place for it. Why is it written here? In order to separate between a one bad thing and another bad thing. Like it says in the Mikdash, what is one bad thing? Well, that one bad thing afterwards is what it says over here. The people were complaining. This is what the Sikha of the Rebbe in Devar Malchut we're learning. That's a bad thing. The people were complaining, and Rashi says they were complaining about nothing. They were just looking around for complaints with things. Complain about things. They were complaining about the traveling. They started complaining about the bread. They started, and the thing before it is over here. Is here. Vayiso Mahar Hashem. They traveled away from the mountain of God. Some people say what it means is that they traveled away. They left the presence of God. The Jewish people already started leaving the presence of God first. That was the one bad thing. And then this is the next bad thing that they were complaining. But to separate between these two things, why is it written? Yes, it says, raise up God because the ark would travel, this ark with the broken tablets in it, would travel for 3 days. And Moshe would say, stand and wait and don't go any further. Moshe would tell the ark, when it was 3 days away, that's it, don't go any further. It says, Moses would say, disperse the enemies before you. Those enemies that are gathered. There's 2 different opinions what this means. Those that are gathered means that you can see them, they're all gathered together, or it means ha-mechunasim, means that they're hidden enemies. And v'yanusu misanecha, and they should run away. These are the enemies that run after us. In any case, it says that disperse your enemies, those who hate you. Who hates God? How do we know who hates God? It's in the person's heart. How do we know who? So it says these are the people that hate the Jews. That anyone who hates the Jews hates the one who speaks and creates the world. Anyone who hates the Jews, they really hate the creator of the universe. They want to destroy the world because there's no real reason to hate the Jews, right? The people hate the Jews first, and then they make up reasons afterwards. Like it says, "Misanecha nas urosh." It says, from those who hate you have lifted up their heads. Who are those people? Our amcha yarimu sod. It says, those who hates you, God, the people who make all sorts of plans against the Jews. So that's pretty valid now. I made a little video about that. You can see on the video. That's pretty valid now. I mean, now maybe more than ever, we see the whole world is proud to hate the Jews. They call it this Israel. Okay, so anyways, when the people were complaining, what were they complaining about? It says Rashi, what were they complaining about? First of all, who are the people? These were the evil ones, Rishoyim. This was the Erev Rav. They made trouble all the time. They made the golden calf. The Kain Omer, that's what it says. What can I do with these people? Omer these are the Kasherim. Ami says, Kasherim, Kasherim, but when the Jewish people are good, then they're called Ami, my people. Like it says, Shalach Ami, when he went into the Paro, he said, send my people, let my people go so they can serve me. Mit onanim, it says they were mit onanim. What is mit onanim? In mit onanim, they're just alila. They were looking for some reason. Mevakshim alila, they were looking for some sort of a reason how to separate from God. Right? We don't want to do what God says. Look what he did to us. Look at it. And also that's what it says in Shimshon by Samson. Ki ta'unahu mevakesh. He's looking for some sort of a reason to make trouble to them. So they were saying things that were bad in God's eyes. What does it mean? Their intention was to bring to God's ears, rather. What they wanted to do was to make God angry. They said, "Oy lanu kamo lebatnu b'derech." How woe to us! We've slept so long in the way, 3 days. Wow, this is terrible, right? That's awful. We don't want this 3-day journey. Doesn't make a difference that they really didn't even go 3 days. So God got angry, and God got angry, and there burned a fire, and it ate some of the people. It devoured some of the people. It says the lowest people. And who are they? The Erev Rav. These are the mixed multitude. Rabbi Shimon ben Manasseh said, it means the highest, the leaders, they're the ones that got punished. The leaders of the Jewish people, they should have taken it into account. So the people cried out to Moses, and Moses prayed to God, and the fire stopped. Why didn't they pray to God? So he says, it's like I'll give you an example. Once upon a time there was a king, and he got angry at his own sons. His sons did something really terrible. So the son, and his son rather, his son went to a good friend of his father and said, "Listen, please go and tell my father to be angry. I don't know why he's angry at me, but angry us." So the friend went. What does it mean? That God, that the people went to Moses and they figured, listen, God knows why we're angry. God knows why to be angry, because we're complaining to him. And we figured maybe Moses didn't hear all the complaints. He doesn't know why God is mad and he's sending this fire to devour us, right? Maybe Moses, says, go in and talk God out of it. And so it worked. It doesn't came back anymore, just sunk into the ground. So it shows that that's the job of another one of the jobs of Moses, is to remove bad things from the Jewish people, to protect the Jewish people. They called the name of the place Tavera. This place was called the place of fire because they were flamed up the fire. Hasafsuf, again, the Safsuf, this is the Erev Rav. Like what is it? The rabble. No, they call the rabble, but the low people that were in them. They all of a sudden had a desire and they started crying and they said, "Who will give us meat? We want to have meat." Basar. They didn't have meat. It says already before that the Erev Rav went with them, and they took also sheep and goats. It says when the Jewish people went out, they took all sorts of flocks. They could have eaten meat if they wanted to. If they wanted to, they could have eaten that. When they went into the land of Israel, it says Mikne Rav, that says that Bnei Ruvain had a lot of sheep and a lot of flocks. That's why they didn't want to go into the land of Israel. Elam Avakshim Alila, they were just looking for a reason to complain, and here we'll see what the complaints that they made. Zachrena, you remember the good fish that we ate in Egypt for free? Remember we had all over there zucchini and watermelons and all sorts of good onions and all sorts of good things to eat. So what do they take these things for? It says, Im Tomar, you want to say that the Egyptians were really giving them fish for no reason, fish for free. It already says that even straw they didn't give to them. If straw they didn't give to them, the Egyptians are going to give them fish. What are they trying to convince the Jewish people? What does it mean? And we got it for free? And what does it mean that we got the fish over there for free? So it means what they meant was free from the commandments. We don't like this idea that we're trapped over here. And Moses we have to do commandments all the time. We receive them at the Torah. too much. Rabbi Shimon said, why did they pick all these weird things at the watermelons? Because these things are bad for women that nurse. It says, they say to a woman, don't eat the onions and this, because the onions and whatever is garlic is not good for the child. And it brings an example, kishuim. So it explains what these are. And so it says, and now our soul is all dry. All we have is this terrible man. We got to eat this man all the time. What was the man? The man was like, it says like coriander seed. And it looked something like badolach. What is it? Like, it's a crystal. It looked like it's the name of a good stone. That's what the people traveled around and they gathered it up. They had to go far away and they had to grind it up in grinders, or they had to, pulverize it, and they boiled it, and they made the cakes, and it tasted like the taste of oil, shada shemen. It tasted, says that it tasted like anything that they wanted to. And they learn out in the Gemara that what this means is that the evil people, they had to shatu, they had to go far away, and they also had to grind it and prepare it. And the people that were I'm sorry, and the people that were not evil, that they had to just cook it. That's all. They had to just cook it. They didn't have to go out so far. They had to cook it. We'll see that. And the people that were tzaddikim, the righteous people, it says this towel came on the camp. They didn't have to go out at all. And it was already ready. They could eat it. It was already prepared. So the righteous people, the man fell right outside of their door. And the evil people, it fell far away. But nevertheless, they all ate the man. And it says that the man purified everybody that ate it. The man purified everyone that ate it. Now, this is really, they complained afterwards, but really the man had been coming down to them for a while. It had been coming down to them for like about a month before the Torah was given. It was the 15th of Iyar that it started coming down. And 1 month after they left Egypt, they received the man started falling down. Anyway, so Moses heard the people crying, the mishpachotav, in their families. Says, what does it mean in their families? Says the mishpachot, they're gathering and they're crying and they're yelling. But the rabbis say the mishpachotav, because of the families on arayos that became forbidden to them. What happened? Before the Torah was given, it was permissible for some people to marry other people. They didn't know what was forbidden and what wasn't forbidden, right? It was, as soon as the Torah was given, so all these arayas, these things became forbidden. What exactly was divorce? If a woman wasn't divorced, you couldn't marry her. According to the non-Jews, you just send the woman out of the house and she's divorced. All of a sudden, all these things became forbidden. So they were complaining. They were looking for something to complain. Vayomer Moshe Agad, why are you treating me so bad? Why did I do something wrong? You don't like me? You gave me this terrible people that I have to bear them all the time. Did I give birth to these people? Was I pregnant with them? Did I give birth to them? That they should say that I have to bear them. I'm responsible for them. Just like a nursing woman takes her child. I have to take them all to the land that you promised to our fathers. When am I going to get meat? If they're wanting meat, when am I going to get meat to give all these people? They're crying. They're all crying me. Give me meat. I can't. I'll bear them anymore. Right? It's too hard for me," said Moshe. "If you do to me, so you know what? Maybe kill me, because obviously you don't like what I'm doing. So I'm going to fail in this job. You gave me too hard of a job. I won't be able to do it. The Jewish people, and I really want the best for them, but they just don't want to receive it." God said to Moshe, "Gather to me 70 people from the elders, and I know that they're the elders of the people and their judges, and take them to the tabernacle and stand there with you. And I'm going to come down and I'll take from the spirit that's on you and I'll give it to them. And they will bear the burden of these people with you. What does it mean? What was Moses similar? Says Rashi. What was Moses similar to then? It was like a candle. That from a candle, the candle on a lamp, everyone can light whatever their candles from this candle, and the candle, the original candle from the light, doesn't lack anything. It says these people, they will bear the Jewish people with you. These judges. To the people, he said, tomorrow be happy. You're going to eat meat tomorrow because you cried in the eyes of God, saying, who's going to give us meat? It's better that we should be in Egypt, and where we had all sorts of meat to eat in Egypt, which of course was not so. God says, don't worry, okay, you're going to get what you want. Not just one day you're going to eat meat, not 2 days, not 5 days, not 10 days, and not 20 days. I'm going to give you meat 1 month until it comes out of your nose. It's going to be disgusting to you because you were disgusted. You how do you say, you rejected God that's among you, and you cried in front of him saying, why do we have all this terrible thing? Who is the godliness which is among you? It's also Moses. The Shekhinah says that's the Shekhinah's presence also. Moshe said, and this is a very famous sentence. I know we're going quickly, but we'll God willing try to do more. I'll post it tomorrow. Moses said, 600,000 feet are the people that I am among them. And you said to me, I'm going to give them meat. I have to provide them meat for 30 days. How am I going to? All the sheep and the cattle, I'm going to slaughter them. Could I kill all the fish in the sea? I should gather all the fish for them and give it to them. So he says, well, who's talking about fish? How did Moses all of a sudden get fish? So he says like this, Me'ayin li basar. Here he says, Moses says, Me'ayin li basar. All right, we'll get to this. From here, we learn that you don't have to slaughter fish, that you can just gather it up from the sea and it's kosher. A fish is much more spiritual than an animal. An animal, a cow, or whatever it is, a sheep, you have to slaughter. A fish, you don't have to slaughter. A fish is already prepared. It's more kosher than a cow. A cow, which is not slaughtered, you can't eat it. It's forbidden to eat. A fish, you can eat it. So Moses says, listen, meat for sure I'm not going to give. I can't come down so low to give them fish. It said that's why it says that Moses he couldn't speak. It was hard of speaking. That was before, in case the Torah was given. It was hard of speaking because he couldn't come down so low in order to actually talk to the people. He had that Aaron be his translator. The same thing with meat. He couldn't come down so low to give them meat. God said, don't worry about it. The hand of God is not, you're going to see what's going to happen if my words. Moshe went out and he spoke to the people and he said, he gathered the 70 elders, first of all, and he gathered around the fifth, and all of a sudden came down a cloud and God spoke to him, and the spirit that was on Moshe went to these 70 elders. And when the spirit came to them, they started to prophesize and they didn't stop. So we're going to see later on, and we're going to have to stop now, that came the slav, some sort of quails that came to the Jewish people. This is all happened at once. And there's going to be more also. It says this is where Moses made the 70 people, the 70 elders, and the 70 elders helped him to judge the Jewish people instead of them all coming to Moses. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. We'll leave it for you.